What do Christian McCaffery, Daunte Culpepper, and Calvin Johnson have in common? And I'm not talking about their successes. They have all been cursed by Madden. For over 25 years, EA Sports Madden NFL has dominated the gaming industry, selling over 130 million copies and becoming the gold standard for football simulations. But beneath the highlight reels and superstar celebrations lurks something far more sinister, a disturbing trend that has plagued nearly every athlete who's graced the cover. Some call it coincidence. Others believe it's proof of a very real and terrifying phenomenon: the Madden curse. Year after year, NFL stars who appear on the cover have suffered devastating injuries, career worst seasons, and even personal and legal turmoil. The numbers don't lie. Over 85% of cover athletes have experienced some form of misfortune. Is this just bad luck, or is there something deeper at play? Tonight, we break down the victims, the skeptics, and the billion-dollar corporation that profits from their downfall. The Madden curse traces back to 1999, when EA Sports made the bold decision to replace John Madden himself with actual players on the game's cover. At the time, it seemed like a fitting tribute to the league's biggest stars. But what followed was a series of events so eerily consistent that it would go on to spark one of sports' most bizarre superstitions. The first victim was Garrison Hearst, the San Francisco 49ers star running back who had just come off a breakout season, rushing for 1,570 yards and leading his team to the playoffs. He was poised to cement himself as one of the league's elite rushers, but fate had other plans. In the NFC divisional playoffs against the Atlanta Falcons, on what should have been a routine play, Hurst's ankle twisted unnaturally beneath him. The X-rays revealed the worst, a shattered fibula and tibia so severe that doctors warned he might never walk properly again, let alone play football. Hurst missed 2 full seasons, and while he eventually made a comeback, his production plummeted. His yards per carry average was cut in half, and he was never the same dominant player again. The first cover athlete in Madden history had just experienced a career-altering injury, and it wouldn't be the last. Then came Barry Sanders, the Hall of Fame running back whose name alone was synonymous with greatness. Sanders had just recorded his 10th consecutive 1,000-yard season and was on pace to break Walter Payton's all-time rushing record. He was the undisputed face of the Detroit Lions and one of the most electrifying players the game had ever seen. And then, out of nowhere, he disappeared. Just weeks after being named the cover athlete for Madden 2000, Sanders stunned the sports world by faxing his retirement notice from London, without warning, without explanation, and without so much as a farewell tour. It was an exit so abrupt and so uncharacteristic that fans were left speechless. To this day, the reasoning behind Sanders' sudden departure remains a mystery, but what is undeniable is the eerie timing. His retirement coincided perfectly with his Madden cover appearance. The Lions were left without their franchise star, and the curse had claimed another victim, only this time it didn't take an injury, it took an entire career. By 2002, the curse was no longer a theory, it was a pattern. Daunte Culpepper, the Vikings' rising star quarterback, had just thrown 33 touchdowns and led Minnesota to an NFC championship appearance. He was young, strong, and considered one of the league's best dual threat QBs. But after being featured on Madden 2002, his stats collapsed. His touchdown total fell to just 14, while his interceptions skyrocketed to 23. He suffered multiple injuries over the following years, including a devastating knee injury in 2005 that tore his ACL, MCL, and PCL in one brutal moment. He never fully recovered, and within a few years, he was out of the league, bouncing between teams before disappearing from football altogether. The once promising MVP candidate had become a forgotten name, another casualty of the Madden curse. Then came Michael Vick. The most electrifying quarterback of his era, Vick had just revolutionized the position, becoming the first QB to rush for over 1,000 yards in a season. He was untouchable, both in real life and in Madden, where his virtual counterpart was practically a cheat code. But just a few weeks after gracing the cover of Madden 2004, disaster struck. In a 2003 preseason game against the Ravens, Vick scrambled out of the pocket, took a hit, and immediately collapsed. His fibula was shattered. He missed 11 games, and though he eventually returned to form, the Madden curse wasn't done with him yet. In 2007, his career took an even darker turn when he was sentenced to 21 months in prison for his involvement in an illegal dogfighting ring. Overnight, the league's most dynamic superstar became its most disgraced. His image scrubbed from Madden and his career forever tainted. The curse, it seemed, had reached beyond the football field. It was now ruining lives. By now, the question wasn't whether the Madden curse was real. It was how far its reach extended. Year after year, the curse continued, striking down MVPs, Pro Bowlers, and future Hall of Famers alike. Was it just bad luck, or was something else at play? And if the curse was real, who would be its next victim? By the mid-2000s, the Madden curse had evolved. No longer confined to a specific position, it began taking down players across the entire field. From linebackers to wide receivers, no one was safe. The 2005 cover athlete, Ray Lewis, was one of the most dominant defensive forces in NFL history, a man who had never missed more than one game in a season. But after appearing on Madden NFL 05, he suffered a severe hamstring tear, limiting him to just 6 games. For a player built on speed, agility, and intensity, the injury wasn't just painful, it was a momentum killer. While he eventually returned, the invincible aura surrounding him was cracked. Then came 2008, when the curse didn't just affect stats and injuries, it began creeping into the players' personal lives. Vince Young, once heralded as the NFL's next great dual-threat quarterback, had led the Tennessee Titans to a playoff appearance and seemed to be on the rise. But the season following his Madden NFL 08 cover appearance was an unmitigated disaster. His performance on the field collapsed, throwing just 9 touchdowns to a staggering 17 interceptions. But the worst part wasn't statistical. It was psychological. Young later admitted he had contemplated suicide during that period, struggling under the weight of expectations, injuries, and mental health battles. The curse was no longer just ending seasons, it was taking a toll on players' well-being. Then came the 2013 season when the curse claimed perhaps its most shocking victim, Calvin Johnson. Megatron was an unstoppable force, a receiver unlike any the league had ever seen, fresh off an NFL record 1,964-yard season. If there was anyone who could defy the curse, it was him. But just 2 years after his Madden NFL 13 cover debut, at the peak of his dominance, Johnson abruptly retired at the age of 30. He walked away from the game with seemingly plenty left in the tank, citing the physical toll of the sport, but the eerie timing of his departure only fueled the legend of the Madden curse. How could one of the most dominant athletes in NFL history choose to leave the game so early? Some called it a personal choice. Others saw the curse tightening its grip. But if fans thought the curse had reached its peak, they were in for a rude awakening. The 2017 season would bring one of its most brutal casualties, Rob Gronkowski. By then, Gronk had established himself as the most dominant tight end in the NFL, a game-changing red zone weapon with an unmatched combination of size and athleticism. He was seemingly indestructible, but after appearing on the cover of Madden NFL 17, he suffered a herniated disc that ended his season after just 6 games. It wasn't the first injury of his career, but it was a devastating one. His body was breaking down, and within 2 seasons, Gronkowski, still in his prime, would retire from football entirely. The Madden curse didn't just shorten seasons anymore, it was cutting careers short. And then, in 2019, the curse took an even more bizarre turn. Antonio Brown was one of the most explosive wide receivers in the league, coming off 6 consecutive 1,200-yard seasons. But almost as soon as he graced the cover of Madden 20, his life and career spiraled into chaos. First, he suffered severe frostbite on his feet from a cryotherapy mishap. Then came his bizarre helmet grievances, his public fallout with the Steelers, and his eventual trade to the Raiders. But the drama didn't stop there. Within months, Brown had been cut by Oakland, signed by the Patriots, and then released after just one game due to off-field controversies. Once a surefire Hall of Famer, Brown became the poster child for career implosions. Was it arrogance, poor decisions, or did the Madden curse evolve into something far beyond injuries? For years, EA Sports has denied the existence of the Madden curse, dismissing it as nothing more than a coincidence, a statistical anomaly in a violent sport, but actions speak louder than words. In 2012, when the underdog running back Peyton Hillis shocked the world by winning the Madden cover vote over NFL superstars, EA stepped in and changed the rules. Hillis, who had rushed for over 1,100 yards in 2010, became a victim of the curse almost immediately, suffering concussions and injuries that derailed his career. Within 2 seasons, he was out of the league entirely. The following year, EA made sure that fan votes could no longer determine the cover athlete. Why would they alter the process? Was it simply to regain control over marketing decisions, or was this a desperate attempt to prevent another unexpected victim? Was EA finally admitting, in their own way, that the Madden curse wasn't just a superstition, but a very real phenomenon? With the evidence mounting and careers continuing to fall apart, one thing is clear: the Madden curse isn't going anywhere. But the real question remains: is it just bad luck, or is there something even more sinister behind it? For years, the Madden curse seemed like an unstoppable force, tearing down legends and ending careers in shocking fashion. But in recent seasons, there have been signs of resistance. Players who defied the odds and escaped the cover unscathed. Patrick Mahomes, one of the most electric quarterbacks in modern football, graced the cover of Madden 20 and responded by throwing 50 touchdowns, leading the Chiefs to a Super Bowl victory. 2 years later, Tom Brady, at age 44, became the Madden 22 cover athlete and went on to win Super Bowl 55, proving that even the so-called curse couldn't slow him down. To many, this was the final nail in the coffin of the Madden curse, proof that it had finally been broken. But if you dig deeper, cracks begin to emerge. While Mahomes did win a championship, his follow-up season wasn't without problems. The Chiefs made it back to the Super Bowl the very next year, only to be crushed by Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in a humiliating 31-9 defeat. Mahomes didn't throw a single touchdown in that game, and his offensive line collapsed under pressure, leaving him scrambling for survival. Then came Brady's own fate. Shortly after becoming the oldest cover athlete in Madden history, Brady retired, seemingly for good, only to reverse his decision weeks later, return for an underwhelming 2022 season, and retire again in 2023. Was this a true case of escaping the curse, or did it simply delay its effects? The 2023 Madden cover made history, not by selecting a player, but by honoring John Madden himself. A posthumous tribute to the man who started it all. It was the first time in years that the cover saw no immediate downfall, no injuries, no controversies. But, of course, Madden was no longer playing. While it provided a safe break from the curse, it left the biggest question unanswered. Was the Madden curse finally over? Or had EA Sports simply pressed pause? With some players defying the Madden curse, skeptics argue that the entire theory is nothing more than coincidence. Injuries happen. Football is one of the most violent sports in the world, and the average NFL injury rate sits at a staggering 53%. If over half the league gets hurt at some point, maybe the curse is just an illusion. Maybe cover athletes are simply selected when they're at their peak, making a decline inevitable. But if that's true, why do fan theories still persist? Why do 15 out of 26 cover athletes experience noticeable career drops after their appearance? Why does EA Sports rake in billions while their biggest stars mysteriously collapse? The truth? EA Sports doesn't need a curse. Their business model thrives on controversy. When Christian McCaffery tore his PCL in 2024, Madden's official social media team posted "Prayers Up," a tweet that racked up 2.1 million views overnight. Was it sympathy, or was it marketing? With every injury, every collapse, and every misfortune, the legend of the Madden curse only grow stronger. Whether the curse is real or not, one thing is clear. EA Sports isn't trying to stop it. They're monetizing it. But beyond the data, beyond the marketing machine, the Madden curse has embedded itself into the very fabric of the NFL. Players now fear the honor. In 2021, Davante Adams publicly declined the cover, stating, "I've seen what happens." Many athletes now hesitate, knowing the history that follows those who accept EA's offer. Rival games like NBA 2K have faced similar cover athlete jinx accusations, but none have matched Madden's staggering 85% downfall rate. Even skeptics can't ignore the psychological toll this myth has created. Even former cover athletes admit that the Madden curse lingers in their minds. Drew Brees, who graced the cover of Madden 11, later admitted, "When I tore my rotator cuff in 2005, my first thought was, oh God, it's the Madden curse." Brees recovered, but the paranoia never left him. Even more shocking, his Madden 07 cover saw a 37% drop in sales, as fans genuinely feared buying that edition. The Madden curse wasn't just an urban legend anymore. It had economic consequences. So is the Madden curse real? Or is it just a clever mix of bad luck, violent sports reality, and corporate marketing? One thing is certain, whether you believe in the curse or not, the legend isn't dying anytime soon. And as long as EA Sports profits from it, the next cover athlete will always have one question looming over them. Am I next?